Hello! Hello, everybody. This is a bonus round of live chat with Kat because I don't come live very often. But today is a big day because I wanted to just have a really good conversation about our own nonsense, really. Because we are so good at holding ourselves back from our own awesomeness and amazingness and the truth of who we are and all of that. And our humanness is just giving us all of this fuckery. And so one of my favorite people in the entire world over here is Ms. Emma Holmes, who is from a page called Rebels and Rockstars. And Emma and I actually, I think in some ways we were soul separated at birth because we find that we are so in alignment with many things. But I'm so grateful that she's agreed to come on and talk to us about pivot points and those moments where we just have to make a decision to make change happen. And so that's why I've invited her on today. So hi.
Hi. I love your cup. I love that you're the queen of everything.
So we don't offend anyone. This was a birthday gift.
There we go. We're creating there. You just created a filter of your own awesomeness by putting your finger over that word.
That's it, because actually I have owned the fact that I can be deeply, amazingly spiritual and powerful and still swear like a trooper. So there we go. That is my truth.
Yes, and we should stand in our. Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it, that goes on and on and on in terms of, do I actually swear on my Facebook page? I hear this one a lot, and that filter of, well, I mustn't because I need to be really professional, or I must be seen to be, and there'll be maybe even a sweary word by using other symbols and things to kind of blunt out the sweary wordness of it. And yeah, I think it was something that I did for a little while at the beginning, and then went, actually, do you know what a massive mismatch that would cause if someone then came to work with me and then realised that this was my tone and language and where I spoke, my dialogue, my way of interacting and creating great things for people. And they'd never, that abrasion would be massive. And that is what allowed me to step into that. Who thought we would initially start talking about not swearing?
Well, as with all things, when you and I get together, we go on little wanders around the edges.
Yeah.
So
go on.
Okay. So I wanted to mainly just talk today about really, we've called them pivot points. This has become a bit of a buzzword, over the last few years, of these pivot points where we just decide that actually done with that. Actually, this no longer serving me. Actually, this is not the truth of who I am anymore. Actually, I'm ready for something different.
Yeah.
And those moments arrive in lots of different ways. Those moments arrive, they can creep up on us a little bit over years. And then there's this really painful squeezing at the end where we just have to face that the discomfort of staying where we are is more uncomfortable than the choice to change. Mm-hmm. But also, we have these moments thrust upon us by the universe. And I hate this idea. I do not prescribe to this idea that, we create all our own disasters. I am not saying this, if that's what you heard there. But what I am saying is we live in a world which is complicated. We live in a world where we are continually evolving. We're continually becoming something different. And then by nature, that differentness of us over time becomes so separated from the reality of the echoes of life that we've had up until now that it can get horrible. It can get really, really icky. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes it you know, the smallest thing can tip us over into this moment of, I think you say it beautifully, of like, fuck this or fuck this shit or something. I'll let you say it. But it can be the smallest thing that tips us over the edge, or
brought the camel's back.
Or it can be something cataclysmic that, you know, suddenly we come out the other side and we go, I don't want to go back to that life. I don't want to be the person I was before. And I know that you've had, you know, both of those, because, you know, we're grown-ups. Those things happen in life. But tell us a little bit about the, you know, fuck this shit filtering that you have, you know, and that you teach so well.
So the thing is, like you very, you know, very, very eloquently put it, the shit stick doesn't hit people because they deserve it. It isn't, you know, this isn't happening to you because you have done something, been something, created something, manifested something, yada, yada, yada. You know, the shit stick is indiscriminate, and it will occasionally hit you, and sometimes that is, ow, it's a bruise, and sometimes it's a knock you right on your fucking ass type of shit. And they're your more kind of reactions to a situation at that time. That's the more cataclysmic change. That's the bigger thing. It might not be that it's been in a day or in one situation, but it's more immediate. The creeper is I'm changing and evolving slowly. I have this discomfort. I have this thought that things aren't quite right. I have this change in me, or my values have intensified, or my attention has been taken in a different direction, and it's the progressive over time. This has created this. Now I feel, again, using the abrasive word, I feel like I'm rubbing up against this other thing, this past me. I'm rubbing up against this past me, and this present me is rubbing, and this future me can't have this abrasive energy continuing into where we're going. And that's the more time spent in uncomfort, feeling that point of dis-ease with everything that's happening. And when we feel dis-ease creatively, that's very blocking. It's not great for you in many ways, in terms of your mental health, in terms of your confidence, your wish to express your truth, because that abrasion is creating that stopping point between. So I think that the symptoms are different, you know, that over time, this can negatively impact mental health. It can create a situation where you can't share. It can impact your creativity. It can make you think about, well, what's the point? And why am I even doing this? And it can become a kind of tumbleweed that just collects more and more and more bullshit around it. Your one event seems to be much more of a, I can't live like this anymore. Right, we've got to make a change. So the creeper can create different energies to the cataclysmic. And yeah, the fuck it or fuck this shit is that, you know, fuck it is, I'm going to stop being scared anymore. I'm not going to be afraid that this step that I want to take is the thing. It's the kind of, I'm going to kind of take away all of these anchors that are holding me here and go, fuck it, let's see what happens. That's an expression of release and moving forward. And again, that is more of the movement. Fuck this shit is the more methodical. I'm not going to live like this anymore. I'm not going to have this kind of situation. I am going to start to create change, and I'm going to do that logically, and I'm going to do that in steps, and I'm going to do that bit by bit by bit. So again, then reactions are slightly different in terms of their energy, and in terms of their impact on you, and in terms of their speed. And, you know, it could be that you already have all of that kind of worked out, what, you know, what is holding you back and what's stopping you from being that thing. And you just go, fuck it, I'm going to try. I'm going to go and see it. I'm going to see what happens. And actually, what is the worst that can happen? And so often I'll sit and say to people, like, actually, what is the worst thing that can happen to you right now? And is that worst thing that you are telling me that is going to happen to you likely or not likely? Because we can always go, you know, it could be that I lose everything. And then how, well, let's look at this rationally. What is it that is going to happen as a result of that action? There's not many actions in life other than being an absolute turd to people that can't be you turned from and another direction set off. You know, I always talk about the fact that, you know, you're in the forest and there's lots of paths. There's not a right path and a wrong path. And sometimes you might want to just whack your way through the undergrowth and make your own path. Animals are doing that all the time. You know, is this a path or is it animal tracks? Let's go and see. And you can do that. But there's not many where you can't go, I'll see another path over there that I like. I'm going to go and change path. And that's okay. Yeah, so I'm not sure where I'm going with that one then.
Well, that was perfectly said. Actually, I think you rambled perfectly into a very succinct message. Thank you very much. But I think, you know, the other thing that we have to pay attention with is, you know, these moments. And, you know, this is one of the things that I'm going to be covering next week. If you want to join me in my BS Alchemy 5-day adventure.
Do it.
Thank you. Come join me. Is that a lot of the time, well, all of the time, you know, when we are moving into a different state of awareness of ourselves, what we actually want gets tied into the BS of who we believe we are. And this is where it gets really, really sticky, because we don't actually appreciate that a change and a pivot point is taking full ownership of yourself.
Yeah.
And like, if we can skip over all of the, you know, the details of the you know, the problems that are in our way, and actually let's just have a little look about what this is saying about you. Because in these fuck this shit moments, in those moments where you suddenly realize that the new you is no longer gonna put up with the shit that's come previously, or the things that are making you uncomfortable, or the things that you're rubbing up against, or the life that you know you want to lead but it's just not here yet, we have this moment where we have to find ourselves and our truth and our power and go, fuck it, I am being me. This is the time for me to take ownership of who I am and what I want and what I want to do and what this change is for me. Because we can get so tied in, can't we, on all of the I ams for everybody else around us. You know, I can't do that because I am this, or I am that, or, you know, and this is the moment in these pivotal moments that really truly expands our energy into a new powerful version of ourselves. It's that true ownership of who the fuck I am, and I'm going to stand for what I want and what I want to bring into my world.
A couple of things that I've just had to write down because I know that my mind flits when we talk, and it. First one,
and we do get a bit ranty. I don't know if anybody's noticed, when the two of us get together, we can get a bit ranty. But we're lovely, beautiful, wonderful, amazing, supportive people. So join us for a wee rant. It's good.
Yeah. Taking responsibility. I've posted about this week. One of my pet hates is people that are not prepared to take responsibility. And you are responsible. It might not be your fault, but you're responsible for where you are right now. It is your responsibility to create whatever you wish to create with what you've got, with where you are, in spite of all of the other things that are going on, because we all have things. Nobody doesn't have things that are going on in the external and that are impacting on the decisions that we make, on the things that we do, on the things that we can do, on the things that we feel that we have capacity to do. We all have that. You have to take responsibility for where you are and what that looks like, and any outcomes of things that have gone before, any things that have happened along the way. It's your responsibility. You know, for us, you're a big girl. For other people listening, you can be a big whatever you want to be. But, you know, we've got to go, right, I'm responsible for this. I am the grown-up in my life, and I choose my choices. I have the ability to create choice. And anybody listening to this has choice, because they obviously have the freedom to be online, and they have the ability to peruse the world through the lens of the internet, etc. Not everybody in the whole wide world has the ability to create choice in the way that we do, but we are very blessed that we have the ability to create choices that do create then different catalysts happening along the way for things to change. Then the other thing that came up there was internal and external. So there's internal sources and there's external sources of things that create and impact on that change. There is never just one or the other, right? If there is an angst that is external, there is a reason why internally that angst is there. You know, it's when I was editing my book the other week, it's that, you know, if you think that that post was about you, then it is, because it's obviously triggered something in you. And we've talked about triggers loads and loads in terms of the messages that we pop to one another. And Kat knows that my pet trigger is "it's all right for you." Who has a pet trigger? That's a good one, isn't it? But yeah, if you know what you're I love being triggered because it tells me so much about myself. It's like, oh, that's interesting. Why did that make me feel that way? So the external made me feel something internal, so I can then assess what that is, so I can then create something from that. So we've never got just one or the other. So there's always external circumstances and internal circumstances that take you to the fuck it moment. And there's also external and internal circumstances that allow you to create decision around choice. And, you know, yeah, we are, you know, people that do need to factor in external things. You know, there are things that we have that are on our plate, not just because we said yes to them. There's a famous quote from Danielle Laporte that says everything that's on your plate right now is there because you said yes to it. And to some degree, you know, in terms of workload, in terms of stresses, strains, etc., some of that is true. Some of the things that are on your plate are there because you said yes to them, as in actively said yes to them. Some of the things are on your plate because you're a good human. Some things are on your plate because you have responsibilities and things that are going on in your world that you want to have going on in your world. So when we look at that, we look at, you know, all the different options that we have a bit available, the impact that that has in our world and the other humans that we care about within it, and what that's going to look like. There's not a linear path to this. And I've just been talking to a one-to-one client this morning about the fact that there isn't a linear to this. You know, what do you do? If I said to you, what do you do? What is that one sentence that lies across? And my whole career is I help people to improve their situation. So whether it is from being a family lawyer that has helped people in domestic violence, in child protection, in divorce circumstances, you know, my raison d'etre was to help people find a better situation to be in. My life now as an entrepreneur is to help people to find a better situation. And that's the sort of one thread. But both careers hit that thread. Both things that I do hit that thread. Things that I do in the future will continue to hit that thread, because that is my purpose. That is my passion. I like to see people being able to grow and evolve and change, and, you know, that physicality of change, that ability to see someone looking lighter and brighter, somebody able to, you know, deal with things that they couldn't deal with before, the building of resilience, self-esteem and confidence in a situation. That's what fires me up. And there are many different ways and means of doing that. So there doesn't have to be a linearity to that. So therefore, great word, therefore, you know, there are going to be times where how you currently work becomes abrasive, either internally or externally, as a bigger percentage, but always both. You know, I stopped my legal career because it was abrasive in terms of the fact that I was a newish mum and I had little people, and, you know, I had very had clients who needed me to be there to help and support them and to look after them, and I was the person that they trusted, and people in their world, they hadn't even told a fraction of what I knew about their world. And I had 2 little children that needed to be cared for and looked after, and there was a rub there. So I had to look at ways to resolve that rub, but bringing still through my thread of what my thing is. I don't think I've answered your question, but I've talked quite a lot. So there you go.
I'm going to continue your little thread, because I was thinking then when you said there's, if we had one short statement, and I think we all have this, we all know this, but actually it is coming back to what I said previously. It is this knowing of the truth and the power of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, in my lineage of my like day-to-day humanness, my truth is that I help people find the truth of who they are. And that is at every level, from soul level through to human level, through to bullshit level, through to beliefs, through to every single piece, the truth, the actual truth of who you are, and all of that uncovering and unweaving and unwinding. And yeah, I've moved from, marketing, which was all about finding who they are, and then through now to being like a channel and a coach where we go straight in, straight into the truth of you. And quite often, that immediate expansion, yeah, exactly, that is like, whoa. But from that understanding of the truth of ourselves, we then have the power to actually make change and actually choose choice. And I think this is, the other thing that you were saying of, we have the power and the responsibility to choose choice. And it may seem that we have no choice. It may seem that life is out of control. It may seem, at every single level that we are bowled over, held down, fucked off, whatever it is.
If you believe that, you've taken responsibility.
But at some level, there is always a choice to choose. There is always a choice to choose. There is always a choice to choose. Do I need to say that again? There's always a choice to choose. But we give away our power of our truth of who we are and what we want in this world because of our not wanting to look at the truth of what choice can I make that's different than I did yesterday. And I think you've actually been through one of these mega cataclysmic, life had to change things. You've talked about your one in your career already, but when we look at one of the things that I've had through as a channel over and over again is that our humanness and our beliefs are linear, but our soul is not linear. Like our essence is not linear. Our truth, we are here, like you say, with that essence. We are, I call it an essence, you call it message, you call it thread. We're all talking about the same thing, about uncovering what we actually are and what we actually are here to do and what we are actually going to choose for ourselves. And again, this idea of, we talk about it in various different ways depending on where we are in our knowing of ourselves. We start off with like, oh, if only I could just get over my own bullshit. But then we realize that our bullshit is our belief, and our belief comes from the choices that we've made over and over again, and our beliefs come from outside of us, and we can choose at every single moment to be different than we were a moment ago. We can choose to look at ourselves. We can choose to notice those triggers. We can choose to go, oh, that's really interesting. That really affected me. We can choose to look at ourselves and our own truth rather than closing the door, closing the windows, closing the blinds to, any of this. I didn't make any of this, and it's just that flip from outside to inside to recognizing that we do always have a choice. We do always have, in every single breath, a choice that we can do, even if it's a teeny tiny thing, something differently that guides us further to the knowing of who we are and what we actually want, what we actually are here to be and do and share.
My one-line journaling is always, what will it take for me to? What will it take for you to? And then add whatever it is you want to do in the end and see what comes up. Because that gives you that ability to look at it. And I posted yesterday about the fact that, you know, life asks a lot of questions at certain points. And right now, life, you know, over the last 3 years, life has asked me a lot of questions and given me a lot of things to navigate that have been huge. And you don't always have to go on the kind of bear hunt, frantic search for those answers, because again, that can create a massive amount of disease. I see people going, you know, I need to find the answer. There needs to be one answer, and I need to do the thing, and and actually, sometimes you've just got to go, I'll observe. I will let this happen. My choice is to watch on at the moment. My choice is to see what is going to be right for me. And one of the things that you talked about there is it brought immediately to me that thing about, what do you want? Actually, what do you want? And how often do you ask yourself that? What do you want? Can you answer that? Lots of people can't. Lots of people can tell me what they don't want. And often what they want is the opposite of the thing that they don't want. So I actually look at it from, what do I want? What is it that you want to create? What is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to have impact in? What is it that you want to stand for? What is it that you care about? What is it that makes you, you know, dive down a rabbit hole of all sorts of different things? For me, yesterday, it was a rabbit hole of legislation. What is important to you? What do you really passionately advocate? What do you want as outcomes? What do you want your life to be like? What does that look like? And you answer it. If you can't, then you need to think about it.
And you can come and think about it on my BS Alchemy course adventure next week. It's only a 5-day adventure. Come and join me. I'll put the link in the linky doos as soon as we finish talking, because this is such an important element, you know, of actually being brave enough to ask yourself what you want. Because, like you say, we don't do it. And we don't do it for lots of different reasons. We don't do it because it scares the out of us. We don't do it because it feels so far away from where we are. And there's lots of reasons that we don't do it. But we have the answers to these questions, even if they're just in feelings or yearnings rather than specificity. What's that word? Specifics. That'll do. Even if we don't know the specifics, we know the feelings that we want. We know the desires that we want. We know what we want to accept in our world and what we don't. And that changes all of the time, which is where we started off talking about evolution. You know, we're always becoming a different version of ourselves. And we have to let ourselves be that. God, sometimes I look in my wardrobe and I've got things in there and I think, who the hell was I when I bought that? What was I thinking? You know, just like a little thing. But it's so true. You know, we are humans who are evolving in a linear way, but our soul is constantly pushing and guiding and poking and helping us to uncover more of the truth of who we are constantly. And like you said at the beginning,
talk about this linear thing, because I think that there's a linear purpose. I think that there's fuck all else that's linear. There is absolutely nothing else that is linear. There is a linearity, again, a new word.
We're making up a lot of words today. This is really good.
English dictionary, please pop these buggers in. There's a linearity to purpose in terms of, you know, if you can distill it down to that one line like we did there.
If you can distill it down to that one line, yes, because that then becomes an essence of the truth of you, which will be in every single thing that you do in this world.
Yeah,
every single thing.
It's not even linear in itself, because its implementation and impact is different in different parts of your life.
Absolutely.
You will do that with friends and family, you know, to a greater or lesser extent. You will do that with peers and people that you are associated with to a greater or lesser extent. You will do that in your work to a greater or lesser extent. You will do that to yourself to a greater or lesser extent. And then that wave starts to move. And then also the implementation and the way that we implement that wave will start to move. So the only linearity is that purpose. Have it. Peter goes there.
True. So there is an essence of truth within us all. And there's not just one, you know, but there is this knowing of the truth of who we are. And when we get back to, you know, what do I actually want? That comes from there. That comes from there, because we can feel that we are all of a sudden so far away from the truth of that we're looking around at the world and we're going, what the fuck? How did I get here? You know, these are those pivot point moments where we first started off, you know, the abrasiveness of the new me doesn't fit in to this anymore. So we have to have these moments where we're willing to look at our belief. We're willing to look at all of the reasons why we're not, where we have to make a choice to uncover what our actual truth is and what we want to create in this world, and what is calling from inside of us as this essence, as this thread, as this purpose, you know, to make it real and make ourselves in alignment with that. And more and more and more and more. And, you know, we are being asked to be this now. I think the time of living a life where we're feeling uncomfortable is becoming intolerable for so many of us now. You know, more, I'm seeing it so much in all of the clients that I work with and the people in our communities. You know, we're all going through this collective, like, enough for this moment. We're all there. Every single one of us is there. And we're in this sort of soup of bewilderment. I know what it was, and I know what I want, and now I'm just kind of like bewildered a little bit because my maps don't work anymore. I haven't got a roadmap for this new bit. But if we can actually take time to sit in the truth of ourselves, to sit in the truth of this discomfort, to not fight it in the way that so many people want to just fight against this. I don't know what it is, so tell me what it is. You know, but in that
I'm not even going to look at it at all.
I'm not even going to look at it. But in this moment, if we can actually sit and go, I am really uncomfortable right now. This is my truth in this moment, is I am really uncomfortable because I don't have a clear direction right now. I'm really uncomfortable because it isn't showing itself to me. I'm not finding a clear road forward. But in that choice of actually to sit and just stop fighting it, you're actually letting in a lot more clarity in that moment of, ooh, this is interesting how uncomfortable this is to me. Because if we keep fighting, all we're using is the roadmaps and the patterns that we've had before to try and create something brand new. And that ain't going to work for you if you are in one of these moments of the new me is wanting to express itself in the world, and everything that we create from the old pattern of ourselves is still going to feel a bit icky and uncomfortable. So we have to just take this moment of recognition of, okay, this is feeling really uncomfortable now. So I have to create a choice where I'm making a roadmap where I can get from there to there. And that is step by step, piece by piece, understanding ourselves, understanding our truth, and understanding our bullshit, to be honest.
Absolutely. Would absolutely agree. Because what we're doing essentially is we're looking at the newness of moving forwards, but we're looking at trying to do it with the tools of the past. So we're trying to be a plumber with carpenter's tools. Now, you're not going to be a plumber while having a bag full of carpenter's tools, are you? You might be able to do a bit, but you're not going to be able to sort the job out.
That's a very good analogy. I like that one. I
always bring them forward. I never write them. I always have to speak them.
Do you know,
Oh,
it's actually, as you were just talking then, I kind of drifted off into my own little, like, inspired moment. I was going, do you know, Emma and I, we should do this, like, of an evening with wine and just invite people in to a Zoom, like, conversation where we just literally just open up and talk about this, because you and I fire off each other so well, you know, when we're talking about this, because we're so passionate, you in your way, me in my way, about not staying in your discomfort. And yeah, we have to give ourselves a little bit of time to be compassionate to this human that I'm sitting in, that may be going through some really, really hard times.
but I'm not coming to your pity party.
But with no, I was just going to say, but after a certain amount of time, we have to go, enough of this. I'm going to still feel uncomfortable, but I have to choose me. I have to choose change. I have to choose a direction forward. And we probably won't know the whole way we're going, you know, but it is just take one step. That's it. And, you know, I look at my life and career and, oh my God, if I had waited for a pathway that was going to get me here, it would never have happened. I'd still be like at age 18 going, what the fuck? So, you know, and you've said, you know, your career's changed along the way, but this essence and knowing of the truth of who we are is actually a perfect guide for us if we can tap into it, understand it, and use it as a navigation point of whatever step we take that's in the energy of that, no matter what it is the right step for now. That's it. Job done.
Yeah, and when you look at it on the whole pity party thing, you know, if people are in that position, like, the mind loves the brain, right? The brain is such a selfish little wanker, but it loves to have company. And so often you'll see if people are feeling wobbly, or if people are feeling down, or if they want to share it, they want to bring others in. It's not them, you know, they're not consciously going, come on, everybody, let's all be negative and horrible together. But the subconscious is seeking out that, you know, that thing. And I'll often say, you know, sometimes there'll be this wave of discontentment or dis-ease, or something happens, right? And loads of people will come up and they'll go straight back in that undercurrent. They'll be with that undercurrent going, yeah, me as well, I feel like that as well. And they'll go straight back into it, because, you know, the brain wants other people to be part of that. And that's where the pity party thing comes as part of it. And, you know, misery loves company, I think, is the thing that they
yeah, but I like pity party better. It really gets to the point.
And you know, you can put out your banners and all of that and whatever, but ultimately, you know, yeah, you've got to get to that point where there's a choice. And that's usually then a fuck it moment of, I'm not doing this anymore, this is shit. You know, this pity party is not a great party, I don't want to be involved in it, let's go. But as host, sometimes you need to tidy up the mess that you've made. Anyway, when we're looking at then creating that feeling of, right, okay, so this is where I am right now. Here I am. And this is what I've got, and this is what's happening. And I'll often say to people, so why do you do that? Why do you do the business that you do? Why? And they'll go, because, for example, I like to help people to find better situations and solutions. No, right? That's the thread. There are millions of ways you can do that. Why do you do this particular thing? What is it that you do with this particular thing? Why is it that you're attracted to this particular thing? Why do you do this? Or people will say, well, you know, I want to do this, and I want to make my kids proud, and I want to do blah, 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 and I have all of this. No. There's loads of things that you can do that meet those objectives. Why do you do this thing? And that then means that you've got to go, why do I do this thing? What is it about this thing? Because to get what we want, then we've got to start to think about, and like you said, you know, it's more feelings, emotions, etc. I couldn't ever it used to really, really annoy me. I couldn't ever do a vision board because I couldn't like pick, this is the house and this is the thing and this is, oh no, absolutely not. It was more about feelings. It was more about how I wanted to feel, how I wanted to function, how I wanted, my experience to be. And when we think about, what do we want and how does that look, then it's sort of like a jigsaw piece. And I always say to people, there's always 4 pillars. However or wherever you're doing anything, there's always 4 corners to your jigsaw. And people go to me, I've got 4 things on my desk, or I've got 4 kind of main areas of my life, or I've got 4 things that are really important to me. Like, yeah, they're your corners. Then we can start to do the perimeter of the jigsaw. Then we can fill in the picture, because we need those things first and the outline to accommodate us filling in the picture. And that may look in many different ways. The same 4 corners can have a very different picture on the inside. The same outer edge can have a very different picture on the inside. You choose the scope that takes.
Absolutely. And it all comes down to this, choosing to actually look at that picture. What have we created that so far? What does that picture look like right now? What does that picture, where am I right now? Let's look at the reality of where I am right now, and let's look at that picture. And is it still matching me? Is it still my choice? Is it still what I want to create in my world? And if not, let's look at it again.
Yeah.
Let's take it apart. Let's look at it again. We'll keep those corners, keep those edges, but let's make a different pattern.
And it's really all different. Right. Yeah, it's really all right that if there were things that excited you in the past that don't excite you anymore.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It's all right if you used to do X, Y, and Z and you don't want to anymore. That's okay.
Yeah.
You are not here to meet the expectation of everyone else or even of your past self. I am not obliged to bend myself up like a pretzel, because that is what is expected of me. And whether that's externally expected of me, whether that's expected of me in terms of followers on social media, I am not here just to create that thing. Particularly, this has been a big one recently with lots of entrepreneurs, particularly that free stuff. I don't have to. I don't have to write that blog. I don't have to share that post. I don't have to have this conversation with you. I choose the bits that are important to me, that I want to do, that excite me to do. Don't do out of obligation. Don't do because you have to hit so many things a day. Don't do because so-and-so's doing. You don't want to. Don't.
No, and that knowing of, why am I doing this? Is it actually making me happy? Is this my truth? What is my truth around this? We've had quite big conversations about this lately, of disposability of wisdom and all of that sort of stuff, and disposability of our work. And, it is this ripple, and it's not just you and me. A lot of us are feeling, that we've ended up doing things that aren't in alignment with us anymore, that are making us feel uncomfortable. So let's look at it again. Let's look at all of it again. And we're going on for a time now, but you've touched on one more thing that I just want us to look at a little bit.
I haven't talked to you forever.
I know, but people are going to get bored. We'll have to come back and do another one.
Hey, bored people.
Hello, if anybody's here, hello. So yeah, we actually, we're talking about responsibility and we're talking about choice, but there's another level of this responsibility where we have to know our own truth and witness it, and it can make us feel a bit uncomfortable when we are aware that we have trained people how to treat us. And we have trained the world how to treat us.
Yeah, we teach people.
And exactly, and all of this, comes from this moment of actually sitting, making a choice to go on a little adventure into yourself, into your own awareness, into your own beliefs, into your own truth, and just come out the other side and go, oh, look at that. Look at all that stuff that I've just witnessed and seen and shone a light on. And oh my God, I can choose differently now. I put a post up on Facebook the other day about, like, you know, the whole Scooby-Doo thing of a lot of the stuff that we keep bumping into is because we haven't taken a moment to shine a light on it. Like, we have these fears like Scooby-Doo of like the you know, the murdering ghost, but in actual fact, when you look at it and shine a light on it,
ghost in Scooby-Doo, it was just a baddie.
It's just a baddie with a mask on, you know. But this truth of, I have to take a moment to reassess. I have to take a moment to really look at my life. I have to take a moment to go into where I am, what I want to uncover, what do I want to weave in next, and where are we going? You know, and that is what actually called me to do my little 5-day adventure, the Bullshit Alchemy Adventure, which is coming out next week. Blatant plug there. I'll put the linky link in. It's only €22. It works about 20 quid if you're in the UK, or $21 if you're in the USA. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to look at the truth of you. And I'm actually bringing in my energy collective, the crew. So there's going to be guidance from them, and that's my truth. And that has taken me so many years to own my truth and my superpower of that. But damn it, I am not accepting into my world anymore an existence where that is not part of it and part of my strength and part of my superpower. And, you know, that is the whole journey that they took me on to actually bring me to be able to have this conversation with you. So, you know, we're all uncovering and unfurling and evolving constantly. And I think it's time we all had a little reassess, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. When you talk about the whole, you know, we teach people how to treat us, that takes a couple of formats. It takes the format of how are you treating yourself, first and foremost. And, you know, if you know, I'll often say, you know, if you won't invest in yourself, how can you expect anybody else to invest in you? If you want X, Y, Z, how do you expect anybody else to do it? You know, you have to have that self-value. You have to, if you want other people to value you, you need to value you. You know, that needs to be a thing. So that's part of teaching people how to treat you. And then you've also got that sort of that juncture of boundaries. And, you know, this is a hugely interesting one that we could do a whole chat about.
Well, we probably should at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that, you know, the only people that become arsy about the fact that you start to implement boundaries is those that benefited from you having no boundaries. And, you know, the people that do put on you are the only people that then go, oh, you've changed, if you then aren't to be put on anymore. Mm-hmm. So they are people with their own selfish agendas in terms of their expectation of you, and you may well have tracked that expectation and nurtured that expectation by always doing the thing. So that needs to be part of your assessment when you look at how people treat you. And I think, you know, the world right now is obviously quite a weird place, ridiculous to certain extents. It's a massive shake over the last 3 or 4 years, and I'm sure that everybody's felt at some point that things have become different, because nobody can have lived the last few years without things have become different. And, you know, whether that's, you know, I was talking about this to a girl the other day who's got quite a young child, just over a year old. And, you know, we talked about the fact that teenagers were impacted through the pandemic in a certain way. Grown-ups were impacted in a certain way. Babies didn't see anybody's faces and aren't meeting their growth markers and their expectations in terms of milestones, because they didn't see human faces and human emotion and human interaction for so long, other than the people that lived in the same house as them. and there's impacts on everybody directly, but also this period of history is asking you where you are moving forward from here. And even if you haven't done that yet, it might be that you've been dealing with the fallout, like many of us have, for the period of time since the world went bonkers. It's asking us now to go, right, where are we going with this? We can't sit on the sidelines and expect magical things to happen. We can't go, oh, well, this is shit, and, I would do this, that. What are you going to do? What are the things that you're going to do to take action about that thing? Where are you going to be actively involved in voicing your position? And that can be on a micro level in terms of your life. That could be in a macro level in terms of things that are happening in the world. And it can be anywhere in between. We can't expect things just to work out. We have to influence our reality to some degree. Are you the passenger or are you the pilot? Are you going to ask for the change? Are you going to be the change? Or are you going to leave that to be somebody else's responsibility? And just go, yeah, what they said. Yeah.
And that's really it, isn't it? And I think this is one of the most powerful shifts we ever have in life, is that moment where we recognize that we're making a conscious choice to no longer just be reactive to the world and actually become a conscious creator of the reality that we want to see. Responsibility, it's all tied in. It's everything, every single piece of this that we've talked about today, it's all tied in, because there are so many people that go through the world and for whatever reason, they haven't come to this point of being aware that there's a choice to have a choice, but when we are, and every single person who's like listening to this, or calls to my work, or calls to your work, or calls to the people that we know and love's work, we're all aware that we have this power now to be the conscious creator of the reality that we want to see more of in our world. And that's the thing, it's that knowing of, what do I want to see more of in my world? And we have this choice of, at that point, I'm going to be like an activist and fight against something, or I'm going to actually choose to be an active creator by taking steps towards what I want to see more of. And I think this is the thing that we're seeing a lot in the world at the moment as well, is we're being called into being triggered by something. And that activist, like, fight against energy is really, really buzzing in the world at the moment. But it will lead to this moment of, actually, what the fuck can I do about it? What am I going to bring into this world that is not that, rather than just the fighting against that? And I think this is the massive shift that we're all on, like the global level shift of conscious creation and vibrational up-leveling is, we're all going to take power for ourselves. We are all going to be in this stage of, what am I creating that brings more of that into my world that I want to see?
Yeah. How can I influence change? How can I influence, you've got much more influence, obviously, over changing your own world. But equally, you can't just sit by and not create influence in other areas. And, it's not about just being a keyboard warrior or a whingy bastard, but sometimes you have to address the issues that are important to you. Don't expect other people to be saying the thing, because everybody else is expecting other people to say the thing.
So it's down to us, is what you're saying? Yeah, totally agree.
And
hands up, everybody is on board with that. Yay.
Responsibility, influence what's important to you and get on with it.
Absolutely. So I am going to wrap us up there before we go on another diversion into something that's going to take us off on another direction, because I think, you know, it would be nice for us to come back and have another chat about something, you know, that probably will include all this again anyway, in a different way. So yes, as a blatant plug, the reason that we were having this conversation today is that I am running a BS Alchemy 5-day adventure, which starts next Tuesday on the 25th of October. It is 5 days where you're going to get into your inbox a challenge and a recording from my Spirit Collective, the crew, and I, as a human being, I'm going to be helping you unpick that. We're going to be looking at your truth. We're going to be looking at what you want. We're going to be looking at basically a review of where you are right now. And we're going to be unpicking and unpacking that. And it's just 5 days, and it is only 22 euros, which works out about £20 sterling, or I think it's about 21 US dollars. Absolute steal. Come and join me for 5 days just to have this little reset moment where we're looking at what our picture is now and what we'd like to actually start colouring in some of these pieces in the weaving of our world. So I'm going to put a linky link in there in the comments and in the information. So I'd love for you to join me if you'd like to come and sign up for that. And thank you so much for being with me today, Emma. As usual, we have had a fabulously sweary and adventure into all things that we are both passionate about, which is about improving people's life and finding the truth of who they are, which I think is pretty awesome, don't you?
Absolutely. Bobby Dunsel.
Thank you very much, and thank you for I don't want to say his name. Thank you for the dog for coming along as well, and we will see you again soon. Thank you for joining us if you've been watching us live, either here or on Facebook or on YouTube. And if you're watching us on replay, please put a note in the comments. Tell us what you've had as an aha from today, or something that's made you laugh or smile. And yeah, thank you ever so much, Emma. You've been a superstar.
Pleasure. Bye.
Ciao for now.